On the 5th of December 2020, Army Lieutenant Caron Nazario, who according to his lawyer is Latinx and African American,
the best of both worlds,
was held at gunpoint by officers Daniel Crocker and Joe Gutierrez. 5 months later, a few days after Nazario's lawyer filed a lawsuit against Crocker and Gutierrez, a sensational video of the incident went viral on social media. An excerpt of the officer's bodycam footage was making the rounds, and it sent people into a rage. Here we had this calm, rational, and aware Latinx and African American person being held at gunpoint by two rabid coppers for what seems to be a mere traffic stop. I first saw that footage in a retweet by the youngest member of the Missing Link Squad and pantsuit aficionado, Mike Cernovich, who considers himself a cut above the average gullible normie. Let's watch a few seconds of that clip, shall we?
What are you, a specialist, Corporal? What are you?
I'm a lieutenant.
Lieutenant, get out of the car. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. You made this way more difficult than it had to be if you just complied. Get out of the car.
I'm reaching for my seatbelt.
Fine. Take your seatbelt off and get out of the car. Straight onto the ground. Straight onto the ground.
Ma'am, is your commanding officer available?
Down. Let's go.
Is your commanding
Let's
officer
go.
available?
Get on the ground. Get on the
Can you
ground.
please talk to
Get
me
on the
about what's
ground
going
now.
on?
I'll tell you what's going on, Lieutenant. It's around 6:30 p.m. and Officer Crocker is leaving Cost Plus,
I actually came out of Cost Plus.
intending to make a left turn on Windsor Boulevard. At the same time, Lieutenant Nazario is traveling westward on that same road. The two drivers see each other's vehicles.
I saw you before you turned.
Driving behind Nazario,
And I came up behind you.
Crocker realizes that the car in front of him doesn't have a license plate on display.
You had no tags displayed.
At Food Line, the officer turns on his lights to signal to Nazario to pull over.
Turned around on you at Food Line.
Sure enough, Nazario slows down to about 22 miles per hour.
Speeds are 22.
But he keeps driving.
We all know what happened to Rodney King. But Rodney wouldn't have got his ass kicked if he had just followed this simple tip. When you see flashing police lights in your mirror, stop immediately. Everybody knows, if the police have to come and get you, they're bringing an ass kicking with them.
Here's a public service announcement for all you Nazarios out there. A police siren isn't politely asking you to slow down to half or a quarter of your speed or even at 1 mile per hour. It's ordering you to stop. By disobeying that order, Nazario has just decided to turn an apparent traffic violation into a Class 2 misdemeanor in the great state of Virginia. More on that later. But hang on, I hear you say. Everyone's within their rights to drive a reasonable distance until they find a safe spot to pull over. After all, no cop would want you to stop dead in your tracks in the middle of an intersection, right? For a minor violation, correct? So what makes this a Class 2 misdemeanor? Well, let me take you through that journey. Nazario would later state that the reason he took officers on a joyride explicitly punishable by law was to look for a well-lit area for his safety and theirs. Let's go back to our 22 miles per hour chase. Nazario chooses to drive past the first establishment, Primerica Financial Services, that has ample parking space and two lights. Alright, but maybe those two lights weren't on that night. Or who knows, maybe they're motion sensitive. And Nazario is darkness sensitive. Fair enough, let's keep going. The next option is Colonial Farm Credit. Plenty of light and space here, Lieutenant. What do you say? Yeah, I suppose it's too spacious. It's the 5-star restaurant of parking lots. We ain't dressed for it. What's next? The Windsor Volunteer Fire Station. Lots of space, quite a few lights. But maybe those volunteer firefighters were out extinguishing a fire or something and left their lights off. Who knows? What we do know is Nazario kept driving. We've got the Farm Bureau Insurance Company over here. And a beauty salon that's open till 8 p.m. Roomy parking, a few lights, but Nazario was clearly happy with his look because he kept it moving. On to Windsor Plaza. Sweet Lord, we got a bona fide festival of lights over here. The odds of these being on at 6:40 p.m. are pretty high, I would say. Nah, that's just too much. And we know Nazario's fussy about his pit stops. He's like a Latinx Goldilocks in search of her perfect spot. And this bright space over here? This is definitely Papa Bear's parking lot. On we go. Holy moly, it's the Windsor Police Department. Well, if Nazario's scared by 2 cops, it stands to reason he'd be more scared by more cops. Logic begets more logic, you see. It ain't easy to discern how many lights they've got down there, but it's a safe bet there are at least a handful. Next up, Farmer's Bank. Just look at this baby. Big powerful lights, and again, very generous parking. By now I think we're all starting to get the picture. None of this matters to Nazario. He wasn't looking for a well-lit place at all. He had a specific stop in mind the whole time, and he didn't care that it was a mile away, nor that he was obligated to stop as soon as possible. Why? It's obvious, isn't it? He's done this sort of thing before, and the cops have let him get away with it. A few days after the first video made a splash online, the Windsor Police Department released footage of an earlier stop of Nazario, in the same area, this time for doing 54 miles per hour in a 35 zone. And guess what? This officer couldn't see a license plate either.
No tag displayed.
It took him being a foot away from the rear windshield and pointing his flashlight at it to discern the license plate. Now keep in mind, this was during daylight, and yet again, Nazario took an inordinate amount of time to pull over.
Still trying to get the vehicle to stop.
So when did Nazario decide to pull over this time? It took him 1 minute and 28 seconds, or almost a mile. Now, seeing how it was daytime and he still took the officer on a joyride, then we can safely disregard his earlier claim that he was looking for a well-lit area. The truth is, Nazario lives in a fictional world where cops are killing blacks en masse, when in fact, only about 1.6% of the around 1,000 annual deaths by police shootings are of unarmed black men. In other words, if you're an unarmed black man, you have a 0.00003% chance of being shot and killed by cops. Now, what about the cop in this case? You think he made a peep about the length of time it took Nazario to pull over? He sure did, but get this. Only to dispatch. He complained only to dispatch. I let you mull it over why that is. This traffic stop is honestly an unbelievable experience on its own. When pulled over, Nazario acknowledges that he was doing 54 miles per hour in a 35 zone. But he explains to the cop that he wasn't in a hurry, and therefore, he had no reason to be speeding. But that he would have a reason now that he spent time being pulled over. If you're scratching your head and thinking what you heard can't possibly be true, then allow me to play a short clip.
I wasn't in a rush. I wasn't intentionally trying to speed. But these couple minutes of being here, now it makes me feel like I have to speed because I have to be somewhere by a particular time.
You heard that right. Nazario's defense is that he broke the law for no reason, and he's now confessing to a police officer that he intends to break the same law that he was stopped for again. Boys and girls, I hope you're starting to get a fuller picture of just what caliber of person our Caron Nazario is. But let's not get too sidetracked. Let's go back to our nighttime chase and cover the remaining stops, so we have more context for the opportunities this 4D chess master had to comply, and why the officers did not believe for a second that he was looking for a well-lit area.
You passed a well-lit parking lot there, but look at
Windsor Volunteer Rescue Squad. More lights, more space. None of it matters. CVS, a convenience store lit up like a Christmas tree. I don't know about Nazario, but I only support black businesses. Next, the municipal building.
Hell nah, that's the government. That's where the man lives. He would gladly shoot a brother on sight.
Before we get to the infamous stop at BP, let's take a moment to establish how long this low-speed, low-IQ chase lasted. In the Bodycam footage, Crocker says he's been following Nazario for 1.5 miles.
We followed you for 1.5 miles with lights and sirens on, and you didn't pull over.
But he's technically incorrect. Yes, he's been driving behind Nazario since Cost Plus, which is 1.7 miles away from BP. But he activated his siren at Food Lion. From Food Lion to BP is about 1 mile. Here's what Nazario's lawyer tells us in his lawsuit against Crocker and Gutierrez. From the time that defendant Crocker initiated the traffic stop until the time Lieutenant Nazario pulled over into the BP parking lot, approximately 1 minute and 40 seconds elapsed, and Lieutenant Nazario had traveled less than a mile. Nazario's lawyer points to Exhibits 3, 4, and 11 as evidence. I worked out Exhibit 3 and 4 to be Gutierrez and Crocker's body cams respectively. I don't know what Exhibit 11 is. That's the supposed evidence of the pursuit lasting for less than a mile. However, I can guess. It's likely the lawyer choosing the closest distance between the 2 points, while still technically being near Food Lion. Anyway, this doesn't matter much, as you'll soon see. Now, the strange thing about this claim is that to traverse a mile in 1 minute and 40 seconds, or about 1.6 minutes in more useful math terms, it takes a speed of 36 miles per hour, which is more than the speed limit of 35. But remember, we hear Crocker say to dispatch that the speed was at times 23,
Speeds are 23.
22,
Speeds are 22.
and as low as 18 miles per hour.
Speeds are 18.
So what's going on here? Something tells me we're going to need all the brain power we can muster to solve this mystery, boys. To find out where, much like his client, Nazario's lawyer went wrong, we have to look at the evidence he cites for his 1 minute and 40 seconds pursuit. That evidence being Exhibits 3 and 4, or Gutierrez and Crocker's body cams, respectively. For that footage to mean anything, I had to map the route of the chase, traverse that route from a vehicle's point of view through Google Maps, identifying landmarks and counting utility poles between those landmarks, and finally cross-reference that with the footage from Crocker's body cam. Now that gave me a very accurate estimation of Crocker's location throughout the footage. Surprise, surprise, what the lawyer says is the beginning of the chase is in fact almost the midpoint. Crocker's body cam footage starts right in front of the Windsor Volunteer Fire Department, which you may recognize from earlier. We can see from the reenactment of the chase here that he's now approaching Farm Bureau Insurance, and we get our confirmation right here. It's admittedly not a great shot, but you'll get a definitive confirmation in a few seconds when he crosses Windsor Plaza. And here it is. It's fair to say now we've established that Nazario took the officers for an almost 3-minute endurance test, raising all kinds of red flags. In their minds, they're running through reasons the driver of this vehicle willfully disobeyed a lawful order to stop. They're wondering how many people there are in this huge vehicle. Remember, the windows are tinted and they can't see inside. They're wondering what these people are up to. Are they arguing on what to do next? Are they getting rid of evidence, or are they preparing something? Are they buying time for some reason? Are they attempting to make something happen? We'll have to get back to that, as we're finally at BP. The whole gang is here. Both officers are on high alert. According to Officer Crocker, this has now turned into a felony stop.
Felony traffic stop.
I don't think he's right. Certainly a misdemeanor, but a felony would be hard to prove at this point. Here's the difference according to Virginia state law. Any person who, having received a visible or audible signal from any law enforcement officer to bring his motor vehicle to a stop, drives such motor vehicle in a willful and wanton disregard of such signal, is guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor. Classic Nazario right there. Now, to qualify as a felony, the person above who chose to ignore the cop's commands to stop also has to interfere with or endanger the operation of a law enforcement vehicle or endanger a person. I'm not aware of Nazario endangering anyone during their pursuit. Let's get back to the video. So what do we have so far? On one hand, we have Nazario, who's disobeyed a lawful order to stop. We later learned that Nazario broke the law due to his mistrust of all police officers. Nazario's decision-making is therefore irrational. On the other hand, we have the two officers. They're dealing with someone who not only chose to disobey a lawful command to stop for almost 3 minutes, but is continuing to do so when asked to step out of their car. Nazario's bad decisions are therefore of his own will or proactive, whereas the cops' decisions are reactive to Nazario's. By disobeying a lawful order, he has now forced them into a high alert situation and narrowed the choices, the options, to give you an idea of what the officers were going through these moments, as they're trying to assess why this driver broke the law and what risk does he pose to themselves or the people around them. Here's how Nazario responds to their commands after he has refused to obey their lawful order to stop for 1 mile in almost 3 minutes. Pay attention to how long it takes for him to follow a command, or whether he does it at all.
Driver, roll the window down. Felony traffic stop. Put your hands out the window. Put your hands out the window. Turn the vehicle off. Put your hands out the window. I can't tell. Put your hands out the window and turn the vehicle off. Put your hands out the window! He's not complying, Joe.
Come around your side.
Let me see your hands! How many occupants are in the vehicle?
What's going on?
How many occupants are in your vehicle?
It's only myself. Why are your weapons drawn? What's going on?
Open the door slowly and step out. Open the door.
I'm not getting out the vehicle. What's going on?
Get out the car. Open the door slowly and get out.
What's going on?
Get out of the car, now!
Open the door and get out the car.
Hold still, hold. Keep your hands outside the window.
Here's a tip for all of you Nazarios out there. When police say they want to see your hands outside the window, they don't mean your shoulder. They don't mean your elbow. They don't mean all of your arm except your hands. They mean your hands. Not this. No, not this. Not even this. These things. Yeah, those are the ones. You know, it's what you use to hold all kinds of wonderful things.
Keep your hands outside the window.
My hands are right here. What's going on?
Here's a second tip for the more special ones among us. You see, the rest of the world doesn't see through your eyes. They don't know what you're thinking. I know. It's easy to get careless about trivial things such as showing your hands. Because you're a great person. You've got none to hide. And you assume reality is dancing to the same tune that's in your head. But the cops aren't psychic. They don't know who you are. They can't judge you by your words. They can't judge you by your motivations either. They can only judge you by your actions. And unfortunately for you, being oblivious to reality outside yourself and thinking of yourself as a stand-up guy isn't going to undo those actions.
Get out of the car now!
Get out of the car.
What's
Now!
going on?
Get out of the car now! Get out of the car now!
I'm serving this country and this is how I'm treated?
I love this statement because it's a low IQ trap. It gets all the moms and dads, but I believe in you. Stay focused now. Nazario is being given this slow and steady treatment because of his actions, right? Now, what he does for a living doesn't undo nor justify those actions. You still with me? Ask him for special treatment because of what he does. Makes him the same as all those obnoxious, privileged, and entitled officials we like to see getting pulled over, who always try to sleaze their way out with their "Do you know who I am" card. Nazario's special card says, "Holier than thou." And you can tell he's always primed to use it. Here's your reality check, boys and girls. Nazario is being treated the same as anybody else who breaks the law in this way. But to his ignorant, poisoned mind, he's an innocent victim.
Yo, guess what? I'm a veteran too. I'm gonna obey. Get out of the car!
What's going on?
Get out of the car now!
What's going on?
What's going on? You're fixing to ride the lightning, son.
I'm sorry, what?
This is another peek in the video for various reasons. First of all, let's go over what Joe meant by that, because there seems to be some confusion. It's understandable, this ain't a movie. We don't have a director deliberately feeding us meaning through visuals. See what Joe does as he says those words. He releases the strap of a holster on his left side, then holsters his pistol, and pulls out his taser, a device that sends electricity, or more colorfully, lightning, through a target's body. Now, Joe Gutierrez is a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's old school. The problem with Joe is that he judges you by the standards of an adult. He erroneously expects your mama and your daddy and the U.S. military to have made a man out of you. I have to bring this up because I almost didn't believe it when I saw it. That's how unique a take it is. This is how Nazario's lawyer describes this statement by Joe. Defendant Gutierrez, who instead of providing any justification for the traffic stop or any explanation at all to Lieutenant Nazario, told Lieutenant Nazario that Lieutenant Nazario was fixing to ride the lightning. This is a colloquial expression for an execution, originating from glib reference to execution by the electric chair. Oh, sweet Jesus. So according to Nazario's lawyer, Joe isn't talking about his taser as he's pulling it out. No, he's talking about the electric chair. Don't you see? They'll give Nazario the death penalty for evading police. That's what this perceptive genius is telling us. And what have you cited here, my sweet angel? I'm assuming the lawyer's a woman, of course. Let's take a gander here. Oh my...